もう鬼ごっこはおしまいだ。全部なくなるんだ。俺も、あんたも。
Of all the characters who appear in Fatal Frame 4, Haibara Yo is certainly one of them. What can you even say about this man that doesn't eventually lead to, well, that? But we'll get to that shortly. This week, we're going to dive into Yo's history and look at who he is and what made him the way he is when we encounter him throughout the game. In a series full of terrifying ghosts, this guy was a monster while still alive. Let's check out his rather interesting history. Haibara Yo was born on Nogetsu Island in the early 1950s, probably 1952, to Haibara Shigeto and an unnamed mother. His older sister was Sakuya, and much of what ended up happening in Yo's life can be traced back to her, for better or worse. We're not told a lot about Yo's life as a child, but we know that Yo ended up following in his father's footsteps and becoming a doctor. We don't really hear much about his relationship with his mother, but he was presumably quite close with his sister, and it's his desire to save her that ends up influencing much of what he does later in life. And during the late 1960s, presumably 1967 if the game's dates all line up, it's believed Yo had a child, Ayako. The game never outright states that he is her father, but their hints are undeniable. And yes, this would make Yo around 15 years old when she was born. And again, although it's not explicitly stated, it's very strongly hinted that Ayako's mother is Sakuya, Yo's older sister. It's an incredibly twisted relationship on all levels. 2 years after Ayako was born, 1969, Sakuya performed in the Dogetsu Kagura as the vessel, and it's believed this triggered her moonlight syndrome. Like her mother, she was sensitive to the other side, and so, like her mother, she also fell ill. Eventually, she was hospitalized in Nogetsu Hall, which her father ran, while he tried to find a cure for her. It seems that around this time, Yo decided to head to Tokyo to become a doctor and open his own clinic, instead of continuing to work under his father. But Yo was, well, not quite right in the head, you might say. He seems to have been at least a little sociopathic, if later events are anything to go by. And while he was in Tokyo, he decided to use some of his patients for unknown experiments. We're not told explicitly what he did, but considering that Sakuya was ill with moonlight syndrome at the time, it's likely he was also trying to find a way to help her. In one of his notebooks, Yo notes that, "I've tried everything to cure her. I've dirtied my hands with illegal, unethical experiments." While we don't know exactly what he did, we do know that at least 3 of the patients he experimented on died under his care, and this led to the police taking an interest in him. They then opened an investigation into what he was doing at his clinic in the summer of 1979, which certainly put a damper on his medical experiments and attempts to help his sister. Once he learnt that he was under investigation, Yo decided to go back to Nogetsu Island. But he wasn't running in fear. On the contrary, Yo found it exciting, amusing. He referred to it as a game of hide and seek. And he was unlikely to achieve success in Tokyo now that he had constant eyes on him, and his sister was back on Dogetsu Island anyway. So he returned and then went into hiding with the help of his father. By this point, Sakuya was in a rather advanced state of moonlight syndrome. In his notes, Yo tells us, "This is my first time back to the island in quite a while. It's exactly the same as when I left it. Almost as if time doesn't flow the same way here as it does in the rest of the world. My sister is the same as ever too. She's just like she was when we were children. I feel like she's gotten more innocent as she's grown up, not less. Then again, maybe I'm just leaving her behind as I press on, getting ahead in life. And by the time Yo returned to Dogetsu Island, his daughter Ayako, now 12, had also been admitted to Dogetsu Hall for Moonlight Syndrome, just like her mother and grandmother before her. Yo had been absent for the majority of her life and never really seemed to care too much about being a father to her. But that didn't mean he never cared about her in his own way. In fact, she seemed to be the only person on the planet who he felt a real affinity with, like she was the only other person who really understood him. His notes tell us, "Seems like Ayako has been naughty again. Father says she's just like me, always getting herself into mischief. Such fun. Ayako knows how to have fun too. She knows the best ways to toy with her playthings. She understands the same thing I do. The only way to stay alive any amount of time on this ancient, unchanging island is to have a little fun." From this, we can actually determine quite a bit about Yo's personality. Yo liked to get up to, in his mind, mischief. He liked to toy with people, and the only way to stay alive was to have fun. This fun was had by tormenting others, and it seemed to be because he was, well, bored of this dull, unchanging island life. Yo wanted thrills and excitement, and that was likely behind his decision to move to Tokyo as well. The island seemed to never change, almost like it was stuck in time, and he hated it. He needed more than that. That being said, Yo also seemed to harbour real love for his sister as well. Another note of his tells us, "When the rite of descent is over, my sister will be released from her confusion and distress. Thinking about her reminds me of the song she used to sing when we were young. She's probably forgotten it now. Her memory isn't what it used to be. Hopefully, when the rite of descent is complete, she'll be able to sing it for me, just like in the old days. Wait just a little longer, dear sister. It's almost time. When the ceremony is done, we'll leave this island and we'll make up for your lost time, day by day. The three of us will live somewhere quiet, where we can hear your song." Here we can see a longing for the old days, when his sister used to sing to him, and the pain he felt at her losing those memories. He had been working all that time to find a way to cure her of her Moonlight Syndrome, and he hoped that if they were successful, he, Sakuya, and Ayako could leave the island and live the rest of their days out somewhere quiet. Of course, none of this ended up happening. Shigeto and Yo worked hard at recreating the rite of descent in their attempts to help Sakuya, but at the same time, Kirishima Choshiro, a detective from the mainland, suspected that Yo was hiding on Dogetsu Island and followed him there, arriving on September 16th, 1979. The very next day, Yo and his father finally carried out the rite of descent. It failed catastrophically. Sakuya was left in a state between life and death, and the 5 girls they kidnapped to take part in the ritual were then moved to the Moonbeam Well for observation. It was at this point that Minazuki Sayaka, the mother of one of the missing girls, asked Choshiro for help finding them, and that he did just a few days later. The girls were taken to a police station on the mainland, and a construction worker from Dogetsu Hall took the fall for Shigeto, claiming he kidnapped the girls in a suicide note. The case was closed, but Choshiro didn't believe this to be the truth, and, dissatisfied with how things ended, he left the force to become a private detective and continue his observations on Yo and his father. The next 2 years passed rather quietly, with Yo still on Dogetsu Island and Sakuya in her coma. During this time, he continued working with his father, trying to find some way to save his sister. Yo genuinely seemed upset about what happened, and even fell into a depression, although he maintained faint hope in her recovery. His notes tell us, "But the rite failed, and now my sister is trapped in limbo, halfway between life and death. What went wrong? What was missing? Why did I come all this way? It would be easier for me if I could just forget all of this. The only hope I have left is in this painting. Everyone else is frightened of it, but standing before it, I feel a sense of peace and calm. My sister will awaken. One day, she will awaken." And awaken she did, on September 17th, the anniversary of the Kagura. Choshiro arrived on the island just shortly before this, after receiving another tip that Yo was hiding somewhere, and was unlucky enough to come across Sakuya as she emerged from her coma and started the second day of tranquility. He was able to escape her, however, as he finally spotted Yo heading for the nearby hospital roof and ran after him instead. Aware that a second day of tranquility was taking place, Yo went to the hospital roof to watch it unfold. He wanted to watch his sister take down the island with her, realizing that it was all over now. Nobody was going to escape, not even him. They were all going to die. Choshiro found him on the roof and Yo stabbed him, suggesting they end this long game of cat and mouse they had been playing. Choshiro then threw both of them off the roof, Yo allowing him to do so. Yo died, Sakuya continued causing everyone on the island to blossom, and before long, the entire island was wiped out. It was believed that only Ayako survived the Day of Tranquility, but then she also passed away in hospital 6 months later, calling out for her mother with her final breath. The Haibara family was wiped out, and it would take the remaining kidnapped girls, now in their teens, returning to the island 8 years later to deal with Sakuya herself and hopefully save their own lives too. And that is the story of Haibara Yo, one of the more twisted characters in the Fatal Frame series. But what did you guys think of this one? Are there any other lore videos you'd like to see? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you again next time.